Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It's Wednesday morning. Can you believe it? Wednesday, November 13. Hey, great to see you today. And welcome Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Wednesday morning, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., where we will bring you the news of the day around the globe in our across this great land of ours and right here in our nation's capital, and, of course, give you a chance to sound off about it. We come to you live on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Free Speech TV, of course, on your satellite, either the Dish Network or DirecTV, and TawkrTV online. Go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. All right, on the healthcare front, pressure is growing on the administration to get that website fixed by November 30, but it is getting better every day. But because of those problems, the White House is already admitting, Jay Carney told us at the briefing yesterday, that the first enrollment numbers, which will be released later this week, are going to be lower than they had hoped for. Yeah, big surprise. Meanwhile, the White House says President Obama is determined to find a way to let people who have a health care plan right now, and as he promised, and want to hold on to it, to be able to do so, or at least not pay more for a better plan. These problems, of course, are taking their toll on the president. His approval rating today is down to 39% approval, but there is some consolation for President Obama out there. The approval rating for Congress is actually down to 9%. In other news, engineers have decided that New York, in fact, has the world's tallest building now. Sorry, Chicago. Here we go on the Bill Press Show. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov. If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat?
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You bet it is the Bill Press Show here on we're ready to go. I think you caught us napping this morning. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is a Wednesday, November 13. Peter, you forgot to tell me the show starts on time.
Today we started at a totally different time.
You know, I got that's one of my pet peeves in life, I have to tell you. Nothing else starts on time. No.
Perfect.
The White House briefings don't start on time, right?
Yeah.
What meetings never start on time?
Why should we?
Planes don't leave on time. Trains don't leave on time. Only thing that starts on time is this damn radio show, right?
That's a very good point, sir.
TV and radio shows have to start on time. Why? You know, if you're sitting at home, why can't you, wait a couple of minutes, for the thing to start? Right?
I mean, all right. That's a good point, maybe? I don't really know how to address that.
It's just one of my pet peeves.
Okay. Maybe we'll try tomorrow, starting a little bit later, and see how people take that.
Let's start the music again.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
All right. Hey, here we are on a Wednesday, November 13th, the Bill Press Show. Great to see you today. And thank you for joining us on time here for the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our nation's capital today. And booming out to you all across this great land of ours on your local progressive talk radio station. So great to see you today and to be with you and bring you the news of the day, wherever it's happening. We just take a survey of what's hot and what's not, either here in our nation's capital, around the country, around the globe. We'll tell you all about it. And most importantly, open up the phones, open up the media, social media, so you can tell us what you think about it all. Because your opinions are just as strong and just as worthwhile and just as valuable as any that we have here. So get ready to give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Get ready to join us and send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Yes, the team here this morning, the aforesaid Peter Ogburn.
Hey.
Who's always here on time.
We're doing what I can, sir.
Yes, indeed. Alicia Cruz, she's got the phones warmed up. We've been just calling people all morning to make sure the phones are working. And Cyprian Bolding has us looking good on that video cam, because you can not only listen to the show, if you're so inclined, you can watch us on Free Speech TV. That's if you have a satellite dish on the Dish Network or DirecTV. And, of course, you can watch the video stream at TawkrTV. Whole new thing, very exciting. All over the world, people are watching on the video stream at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Yesterday, we mentioned to you, by the way, that this was a historic day because it was November the 12th, 2013. Get it? That's 11/12/13. And a lot of people saw that as a reason to go out and get married yesterday. Why would this be a good day to get married? Well, this one gentleman told us.
Happy wife, happy life. You don't forget your anniversary. You have a happy life.
That's it. You never forget your anniversary.
I mean, it seems a little dopey to wait to get married on that date. But he does bring up a very good point.
I also think you could easily forget your anniversary.
That's true. That's true.
Because isn't it true that 11, 12, 13...
I mean, next year it'll be 11.
11, 12, 13 only happens once every 100 years.
That's right. So on your 100th wedding anniversary, you'll remember that it's your 100th anniversary.
Yeah. So this is kind of a little dumb.
I mean, the 11, 12, I would have to think twice before I told you the year I got married. I remember the wedding date, obviously. But the 11, 12, 13, you could remember pretty easily, I think.
Guess so. What was fun yesterday was that twice yesterday, it was 10 minutes after 9. So then you had, that was really ridiculous. You had 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Oh, please.
The pilots are in line. All right. Hey, coming up today, I'm very proud to have Congressman Chris Van Hollen, the top-ranking Democrat On the Budget Committee, one of the leaders of the leading Democrats in the House will be here in studio with us. We'll bounce down to the White House a little later this hour to say hello to David Jackson, covers the White House for USA Today, and Jen Bendery, who covers the Hill for Huffington Post, will be here in studio as a friend of Bill a little later. And what's the latest about 2016? Aren't you so excited about 2016? I'm not. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. It was a fitting end for Blockbuster. Last week, we heard the Blockbuster video stores will be closing down for good. And while they haven't completely closed down, they are in the process of shutting everything down. They have rented out their final movie. Because you have a couple of days to bring it back. They're not renting movies out anymore. Their Twitter account sent out a photo of a store in Hawaii that had rented out the James Franco, Seth Rogen comedy, This Is the End, to a customer as the final rental. It just came out on DVD, so someone went to go watch it, and This Is the End seems like the only appropriate movie that Blockbuster would rent out as their final
So
rental.
when that one comes back 2 days later, that's the end of Blockbuster.
That's it.
I got it.
They're done. Believe it or not, a new study took a look at Americans and what they believe is real and what they think is a conspiracy. It turns out over half of Americans believe in at least one conspiracy. Whether it's the JFK assassination or a 9/11 conspiracy, people want to believe in something. Politico ties part of this back to a study by a poll by Public Policy Polling found 25% of voters believe that President Obama is secretly trying to work out a way to serve a third term, and 26% think that Muslims are moving to implement Sharia law into U.S. courts. But everybody, at least half of Americans believe in one conspiracy theory.
I was just trying to think. I don't think I believe it in any. But there are some really weird conspiracies.
Faking the moon landing.
Faking the moon landing. The fact that Obama was not born in this country.
Right.
That Saddam Hussein flew one of the planes into the World Trade Center.
That's right.
I mean, it goes on and on and on. But I don't know.
I can't think of one off the top of my head. No.
That I believe in.
No, I can't think of one either.
I mean, we know that Dick Cheney is the one who ordered releasing the identity of Valerie Plame, but that's not a conspiracy.
By the way, I might be opening Pandora's box here, but you should send us a note on Twitter at BP Show of your conspiracy theories. We'll look into some of
find out.
those.
I think our listeners and our viewers are too smart to believe in conspiracy crap.
You could be right. And last night it was the battle of the college basketball titans. We saw the two most powerful teams in college basketball face off. It was number 2, Michigan State, taking on number 1, Kentucky. And it was a close game that saw Michigan State take an early lead and hang on to that lead to take down the number 1 Wildcats. You want to talk pressure? This game had 80 different NBA scouts and personnel at the game to watch.
God.
80 different potential NBA scouts and employees. This means that Kentucky and Michigan State will probably switch places in the next college basketball coaches poll, putting Michigan State at number 1.
Okay. I'm all ready for my Sweet 16 pick.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Final Four, here we come.
Final Four, here we come, right.
I have a feeling you'll see both of those teams going pretty far in that tournament.
Sounds like it. So I wanted to start this morning and get your take on something that's just, I just think is silly. It is so crazy, and I'm just sick of it already. And that is all this talk about 2016. Okay, let me just show you, okay? Here's some of the stuff we got to deal with. So here's a stack of articles that Alicia printed up for this morning that we might want to talk about this morning. Okay, I just want to read through the headlines. Okay, poll: Clinton leads Christie in early look at 2016. Chris Christie, Susana Martinez, is this your 2016 Republican ticket? GOP divided, while Dems united in 2016 picks. That's from MSNBC. The Chris Christie, Susana Martinez ones from The Atlantic, and the poll, CNN, Clinton leading Christie, is from USA Today. Okay, this is from Huffington Post. Rick Santorum hits Chris Christie, Ted Cruz 2016 talk From RTT News, poll shows Christie may face tough GOP primary in 2016. Fox News, Sarah Palin on Chris Christie winning over conservatives. And from Politico, poll, Hillary Clinton 44, Chris Christie 34. Oh my God, everybody is breathless reporting all this stuff about 2016. And I'm going to tell you, it is absolutely, totally a waste of time. It is worthless. It means nothing. You know what it is? It just upsets me because it is lazy journalism. It is not journalism at all. Think about it. How much easier it is for TV stations, radio shows, TV shows, newspapers, reporters, whatever, instead of really digging into the important issues, instead of probing, for example, why global warming is resulting in more horrific storms like this typhoon that just whipped across the Philippines, instead of probing about the failures already in the construction of the Keystone Pipeline, the parts that already exist, and why that proves that building the rest of the pipeline across across the United States would be a total freaking environmental disaster. Instead of really good, hard-hitting journalism, where they have to work to build a story, think how easy it is. Just start speculating about 2016. Right. Just pull it out of your butt, throw it against the wall, get a couple of people in to talk about it, and easy show, meaningless show. So here's my plea this morning, and I'd love to get your take on it. Maybe you think it's 2016 is what we ought to be talking about. I don't, for this reason. I'll give you two. One, 2013. We're still in this year. We got a lot of stuff that we ought to be focusing on this year. How about immigration reform? How about climate change? How about gun safety? How about a budget that, provides some cuts in unnecessary programs, but also raises some new revenue? How about really getting focusing on fixing the Affordable Care Act so more and more people can more readily get access to it, which is what it's all about? That's what we ought to be talking about in 2013. Forget 2016. We just had a presidential election a year ago. This is a time to get things done. This is a time to focus and to govern. I'll give you a second reason. How about 2014? Hello? Do you realize what's up in 2014? Think about it. In 2014, here are the midterm elections that we have to talk about and should be focusing on. Number one, every seat in the House of Representatives, okay, every single seat, 435, up for re-election. Okay. In the Senate, 33 Senate seats are either up or open, will be decided in 2014. The entire direction of the House of Representatives, the entire direction and leadership and control of the United States Senate is on the table in 2014. How about governorships? Governorships, 36 states. I mean, there are only 50. 36 states will have an election or for re-election or electing of a incumbent governor or re-electing a new governor. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know how many legislative seats, it's probably up in the thousands, are up in 2014. And I dare say, and I know I'm telling the truth, the outcome of those elections in 2014 for the House, for the Senate, for the governor will have far, far more impact on what happens in 2016 than any talk, any dribble, any speculation today. So I just want to make a plea to all of you, and I try to do it, and to all of my colleagues in the field of journalism, is get off this 2016 kick. Who gives a rat's ass about Chris Christie or Hillary Clinton or Sarah Palin right now? I mean, we ought to be focusing on the problems of 2013 and focus on the problems and then focus on the big elections in 2014. For Democrats, that means take back the House. Make that your focus. Forget this speculation about crowning Hillary right now for 2016. Let's get the House back. Let's pick up some more seats in the Senate. Let's win some governorships, and then we'll talk about 2016. We got plenty of time. 866-55-PRESS. You want to go on my anti-2016 bandwagon, or do you like all this Chris Christie talk? We'll be right back.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV, this is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, it's 26 minutes after the hour, and we are living through a fever of speculation about 2016, which I find totally absurd. There is so much time between now and 2016, and so many more important things we ought to be focused on. I mean, didn't we learn anything, by the way, when we saw these Tea Party people in the House? The way they got there is because we were asleep at the switch, didn't do anything about governor's races in 2010 and about legislative races in 2010. They take over the state houses. They redraw the lines. They draw them so that there are districts that you can be as extreme far right as possible and never lose that district. And that's how we got all these Tea Party people. And here we come again with 36 governorships coming up, and nobody's talking about that. Instead, they're talking about, is it going to be Chris Christie and Susana Martinez in 2016? Jesus, get real. Ike is down in Charleston, South Carolina. Hey, Ike, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, brother. Yeah, I totally agree. You know, there's so much stuff going on, and whether it's Alec, writing all the right-wing bills and pushing them through the legislatures.
Yeah,
and
right.
The continued, assault by the Koch brothers and the fact that they own most of the tar sands in Canada, and that's why they keep pushing for that XL pipeline and the mess going on there. But I just wanted to break news. You know, there's a lot of talk, and I have to admit I've been the one behind most of it. But I've been pushing a ticket of Hillary Clinton and a ticket of Clinton press for vice president. And believe it or not, it's getting some traction, brother. And one of the benefits of that is you're going to bring, your crew, Peter Auger and the rest of them, and put them in there, and you guys get this stuff fixed.
Well, we could fix it. There's no doubt. We could fix it, Ike. There's no doubt. The only thing I don't like about that ticket is I think it should be a press Clinton ticket.
Well, I didn't want to. I didn't want to really push it too far. But I'll go along with
that. I'll push it. I'll push it further than you. You know, we have to schedule our trip down to Charleston, South Carolina.
Damn right.
You know, we got to do a remote broadcast from Charleston, South Carolina. Everything, radio, Free Speech TV, TawkrTV, take the whole thing to Charleston, South Carolina. We'll do it from the slightly north of Broad restaurant, and Ike will be our co-host.
This is the Bill Press Show.
I'm a Piston fan. Their slogan was, "We come to work." That's what Detroit about. That's why they used it. It's a team thing. They won 2 championships, a team. There was no star. No mayor can come in here and be a star. It's a team thing. No governors can come in here and think you can do it by yourself. It's a team thing. You got communities. They got ideas, too. The only thing wrong with Detroit, people have lost hope here. Residents, city workers, so much corruption. They lose hope. But I grew up here. I love this city. I think it can come back. I've been working for the city 24 and a half years. Within the last 10 years, we took 4 pay cuts and then an additional 10% wage cut. I've lost a home.
When you take all of the decisions out of the city of Detroit, all of us, then what do you have? Exactly what we got, a lot of problems. Every time the city seems to fall into a problem, it's always on the backs of us workers.
You wake up out of a dead sleep and you jump behind the wheel and take off driving and try to get everybody there safe, not knowing really what you're pulling up to, not eligible for Social Security. So the pension is my sole salary at this point.
We've been in business here 39 years. We've seen a lot of changes in Detroit. The area was a lot of industry, a lot of city workers. It's getting very tough for the city workers. It's getting tough for us as a business people.
Response times are increasing because of the closing of companies, which takes your insurance rate through the roof. So all the things that affect us affect the citizens.
I worked for the city in different capacities for 29 years. I feel like an old jacket. They use me up and they throw me away. In my condition, nobody's gonna hire me. I'm 68 years old. Half the times, I can't get my blood pressure medicine. It's either feeding myself blood pressure or paying bills.
$754. By the time they take all the deductions for I have my car insurance, my house insurance, and my health insurance taken out. So the time they take all that, I'll get about $300 after they take all that out. I don't understand it. I can't see how the governor is allowing this to happen and what they're doing and they want to blame it all on the seniors. Not only the seniors, but the city workers. And we worked hard. I know I worked hard.
I've been in Detroit since 1946. I was 14 years old when I came in. I don't live large at all. I wish I could. I don't know when the last time I've been shopping. I only get $1,100, and I'm 81 years old, and I need every penny that I can get and that I do get. And I'm very, very upset about the idea of them taking away my pensions that I worked 30 years for.
I think it's terrible that they talk about Detroit like they do, because Detroit has been very good to me.
I have a lot of city workers coming in with their uniforms on, Detroit Water Department, Police Department, Fire Department. I get a lot of people, the Border Patrol come in. So if I lose that customer base, I'm going to be in a position where I might have to close down. If they take away their pensions, if they start cutting jobs, it's going to cut into a large percentage of not only our business, but other businesses that are in the city of Detroit. We're here. We've been here for 26 years. We're still trying to do business in the city.
Detroiters are survivors. They tough. They adapt. But only can do so much when your politicians ahead of you and we're not on the same team. We're not going to let Detroit be erased, bulldozed, or whatever. We're going to fight to the bitter end. Detroit going to survive.
Okay, 34 minutes now. Here we go. After the hour on Wednesday morning, David Jackson will join us from the White House in the next segment of the show. Right now, we're just talking about all this lazy journalism that you see all on everywhere you look. On the cables, in the newspapers, in the radio shows, online, on the online blogs, across the board. I'm telling you, I'll be able to bet you money the top story is in your whatever outlet you choose or outlets you choose to get the news of the day is some silly speculation about 2016 and Chris Christie or Hillary Clinton or Elizabeth Warren or Rand Paul or Ted Cruz or Susana Martinez, and it is all nonsense. Even, of course, here's CNN. Jake Tapper has Sarah Palin on. Now, of course, that raises the first question. Why would anybody book Sarah Palin anyhow, other than Fox News, who pay her for her babble? Why would anybody want to talk to Sarah Palin about anything? But I understand why you don't ask Sarah Palin about any important issues, because she doesn't have a clue about anything. So all they could talk to her about is political speculation. So Jake Tapper asks her whether, if and when Hillary runs, she's going to have to worry about sort of sexist comments or questions from the media. And listen, she answers that and then flips into her own sexist comment about Chris Christie.
She could expect that sexism, but you overcome it. You know, you ignore it. You do thicken your skin, and you march forth with your message, your priorities, your agenda that you believe is right for America. Yeah, Hillary Clinton was mistreated when it came to appearances, when it came to wardrobe, petty, superficial things that the men don't ever seem to hear much about, but a woman candidate will.
Governor Christie hears about his appearance.
That's because it's been extreme, okay? So it's hard to... It's hard for some people not to comment on it.
He's so big, right? That's what she's saying. He's so fat, right? It's hard not to comment on it. Yeah. You know what? At least Chris Christie has a brain.
That's remarkable that she went from bashing people who make fun of other people's appearances to then bashing someone else's appearance in a span of about 3 seconds.
Oh, no.
Maybe?
Less.
That was breakneck speed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right, let's go back to, so I just, again, my plea is, let's just wait for 2016. We have more important things, too many important things we ought to be doing in 2013 and in 2014. For God's sakes, the midterm elections, extremely important. If you really want to win 2016, then forget about 2016 until you win in 2014. Melvin's in South Bend, Indiana. Hey, Melvin.
Well, good morning, President Press.
Yeah, right. Thanks,
The polls are showing that you already have 2 people working for you.
Stop talking 2016.
All right, the purpose of my call this morning is to be real quick. We're dealing with people with what I call bait and switch. All they do, and I'm talking about the Republicans, and I'm talking about that media, rather than calling it liberal. It don't seem to be liberal to me, but they do just like Las Vegas. They show you to come here and have a good time, and all you do is lose. So the key here is, first and utmost, picture this in your mind, all your viewers. Look at the Republicans stand in front of a poster that says GOP.jobs. Where is the job bill?
Yeah, hello, right.
2014, yeah, if you want a job, you should look at it. 50 million people have had their food deals cut.
Food stamps cut, right.
Yeah, had that cut, and yet they're so stupid, they'll vote for these people.
I know.
That's my comment.
I know. It's amazing, Melvin. On the jobs thing, it's so funny. I mean, I come back to, and we ought to keep reminding ourselves and play those clips over and over again. I mean, people keep playing those clips of President Obama saying, if you like your insurance company, if you have your health plan and you like it, you can keep it. Peter, we ought to put a montage together of John Boehner back in 2010 saying, you give us control of the House, and our number one priority is going to be jobs. Jobs, jobs. That's all we're going to focus on. Jobs, jobs, jobs. This is 2013. There has not been one jobs bill, not one come out of John Boehner and the Republicans in control of the House of Representatives. Kevin in Chicago. Hey, Kevin, what do you say?
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Hey,
Good.
You hit the nail on the head. The distraction has begun. Okay, let's talk about needless drivel.
That's what it is.
Let's face it. We know the facts here. Okay, over 90% of the corporate media. Okay, I mean, hell, we have a CNN. It's the corporate news network, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's just talk about this needless stuff, distract the people. Okay. And let's face it, if any one of these journalists, and they're just lazy. I mean, it's to the point we don't even listen to them anymore, was to actually talk about, something about how the Koch brothers owned the tar sands or the gerrymandering or any of that stuff. That would be the last thing that they did working for that station, because they would be fired. Okay, yeah. They're told what to say. They're told how to direct the narrative. Okay, I mean, just Ray Charles could see this, for Christ's sake. Come on.
Well, I love that. I know, Kevin, you're absolutely right. And I find it embarrassing to see my fellow journalists, and a lot of them are smart people, but you're right, they're given their marching orders, and they've got their shows on MSNBC. MSNBC is as bad as CNN, and they're all as bad as Fox. They're all in this together. And when I see these people, and they get, they take a whole hour, and it's just with this dribble, right? And which adds, it leads nowhere, and serves as a major distraction from the things that we ought to be talking about and focusing on. And I think if the media focused more on those issues, maybe we'd get something done. Ben is out in Taos, New Mexico. Hello, Ben. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. So, yeah, I think that, for one, a lot of stuff is going to happen between now and 2016. For another, there's major national and international news events going on right now, today.
Absolutely. No. I mean, I saw a report last night on CBS News about the Keystone Pipeline that, I couldn't believe. I mean, the problems already with the existing stretch of the Keystone Pipeline really are enormous. I haven't seen that reported anywhere else. I'd rather hear about that, than whether or not Sarah Palin thinks Chris Christie's too heavy, right?
Yeah, and furthermore, I mean, they want to speculate about our governor, Susana Martinez.
Yeah.
But after the atrocious environmental policies she's had so far, I think she's tried to implement, like selling Hatch Green chilies to Monsanto. I don't think we're going to let her last that long.
Well, good. But yeah, the idea that we're actually now into speculating about who Chris Christie's running mate is going to be just shows, I think, really how absurd the whole thing is. Hey, Ben, good to hear from you. Thank you so much for the call. A lot going on. Yeah, let's get back to the focus of the day. And here's a real conundrum for President Obama today. What do you do when your friend, a former president, gives you advice in the media about your health care plan, advice that you don't necessarily want to take? A little embarrassing moment for President Obama yesterday with Bill Clinton's comments. We'll ask David Jackson down at the White House how the president's going to deal with this, coming up next year on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
So this is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
Eye cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
14 minutes before the top of the hour on a Wednesday, November 13. Things already brewing down at the White House. Busy day for the president, and still a lot of talk about can they meet the deadline, a self-set deadline of the end of November for getting the Affordable Care Act website up and running, glitch-free. Let's bounce down to the White House. Say hello to David Jackson, who covers the White House for USA Today. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Bill.
So most of the conversation yesterday, is my count was 5 out of the first 7 questions at the briefing, all had to do with comments made by former President Bill Clinton about the Affordable Care Act. Here's what he told his interviewer yesterday.
I personally believe, even if it takes a change in the law, the president should honor the commitment the federal government made to those people and let them keep what they got.
Is that going to happen, David?
I suspect something's going to happen. You know, that there's a whole lot of things going on with that. There's the rivalry between, at least the reputed rivalry between Presidents Clinton and Obama.
Right.
There's also the problems with the health care law. But, you know, President Obama said last week during an NBC interview that he's assigned aides to look at ways to change this. So that's already in train. And then some people, including myself, wonder if Clinton didn't intentionally say that in order to pave the way for a proposed change later this week.
Yeah, it's, you know, Jay Carney went out of his way yesterday to tell us, right, that there's no conflict here, right? President Obama agrees with President Clinton, but not really if you look at their statements, right?
Well, not right. I'm sure I know some people in the White House didn't appreciate President Clinton getting so out in front on the issue because, as you know, the reporters like to talk about the differences the presidents have had. So everyone and put all that in their stories. But I do think the White House is working on changes, as President Clinton suggested, at least something in the ballpark. Right. And the White House is going to have to do something because we're seeing more and more Democrats sign on to legislation that would require these kind of changes. So I fully expect to hear President Obama or the White House come out with some new health care proposal, certainly by the end of the week.
Which it seems to me there might be two ways of going. Tell me what you think. Is it one, just as President says, allow people, right? You got a crappy plan, you want to keep it, okay, you can keep it.
Right.
Or make it possible for them to get a plan that meets the standards of the Affordable Care Act without paying more money.
Right, and I think that the second one's a little more complicated and involves dealing with the insurance companies. But yeah, they could also just sign on to one of the bills that's floating through Congress right now. I think Senator Feinstein signed on to one of those yesterday. It's the latest high-profile Democrat to say something's got to change on this. So there are a lot of different ways they can do it. But they got more problems than that, Bill. I don't know if you saw the Washington Post today, but someone told the Washington Post they're not sure the website will be ready by November 30th. That's
where I was going next, right?
Yeah.
There are stories now. I don't know what that is based on, by the way. But what do you hear from your sources? I mean, there's a lot riding with Jeff Zients and getting this thing fixed by the end of the month.
Oh, goodness gracious, yes. They've got to get something done as soon as possible. I'm hearing rumblings of the same kind of thing. Mostly what I heard is from the insurance companies, but there's a lot of concern that the website will continue to have problems well into December, and the whole thing may have to be put off for as much as a year. There are all kind of rumors flying around about the fate of this law. So, I mean, it's all important, but it's the old keeping your insurance thing is an important thing, but it's only part of the puzzle, and the puzzle's a very big one.
Boy, I don't think they can afford to put it off for a year.
Well, it'll be tough because, one of the reasons they avoided a year delay earlier this year is because that would put it smack in the middle of next year's congressional elections, and I don't think anybody wants that. So,
no,
yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Is the president, with all of this, is the president able to get anything else done?
It's hard for me to see. I noticed today he's got a meeting with faith leaders to try to continue pushing the immigration bill, but with health care becoming just kind of almost consuming his administration, it's hard for me to see how he gets anything done. Because he's got problems with his own party on this insurance thing, and there are people who are starting to worry about their reelection bid. So.
Yeah, I mean, we went down to Miami and New Orleans last week to talk about the economy and health care, too, right? And he's going off to, Cleveland and Philadelphia tomorrow.
Right, two very important states, Ohio and Pennsylvania, with a lot of members of Congress who were, and Democrats who were worried.
Right, but the idea of changing the subject, or focusing on, and there are other really important things that are that have to be done, but the idea of getting some focus on them or getting anything done, it seems to me gets more and more remote as long as these healthcare problems are looming.
Very difficult, although he'll still have a somewhat free hand in foreign affairs, although you saw a lot of the pushback over the Iran negotiations, so it's all of a piece. I mean, people feel like Republicans feel like President Obama is weakening, so they're free to attack him as they would anyway. But even some of the Democrats are starting to get worried, so he's getting pushback from them on a whole variety of issues.
All right. So if I look forward to today's briefing, I would expect that the first 7 questions might be: what do you do when you wake up in the morning and you find out your latest approval rating is down to 39%?
Yes, that's very
historically. Is this unusual?
No, not at all. A lot of second-term presidents struggle, and the problem is it's very hard to come back from something like this when you're in your second term. But President George W. Bush happened to him. President Truman happened to him. Anytime reelected presidents, once their approval ratings go down, they tend to stay down unless there's some kind of external event that the president has no control over. So he's in a very difficult spot, I suspect.
Yeah, I thought it happened more in the second half of the second term, but this is only into year 1. But
well, remember Katrina and the Social Security debacle and all that happened in 2005, the year after President Bush's reelection, so it's not unprecedented.
But it does show, doesn't it, that this healthcare debacle has taken a toll, right?
It's hard. That's kind of what I attribute it to is healthcare. It's coming kind of the tipping point. There's also continuing anxiety just in general about the economy. I mean, the stock market's doing well, but all the other sectors seem to be struggling. And I think there's a sense, at least I get the sense, that the lower middle class and certainly low-income people are very worried about the future. So I think that's taking its toll as well.
Well, the only consolation I think the president has is that when you look at the approval rating of Congress, it's down to 9%.
They'll always have that advantage. The presidents will always have it over Congress in terms of personal approval rating. So.
Right. So that's the silver lining to the
But each member of Congress feels like they've got more support than the president does, so that creates a problem too.
There you go. All right, David, thanks for joining us. I'll see you a little later today.
Great. Thanks, Bill.
All right, David Jackson, USAtoday.com.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. Or a book report to give. I wish I was in school. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll do extra homework. I'll skip recess. I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school. I really wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help. Together, we're feeding America.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Joining us in the studio. And by the way, there is the latest count in the Virginia Attorney General's race. Democrat Mark Herring up by 163 votes. That is the final tally. You can bet there will be a recount. But Mark Herring is going to be the next Attorney General. Peter.
Yeah, but quick story. Congrats to Hawaii. They are now the 15th state to welcome and bring gay marriage into allow that for their gay citizens there. The law has not, but the bill hasn't been signed by Governor Neil Abercrombie. He's expected to do that today. I really like this.
He said that he will sign it.
He will sign it. Yes, he will sign it. I did like this quote from Senator Sam Slom, state senator there in Hawaii, who said, quote, "People have their differences, but you can't legislate morality. You can try, but you just can't do it."
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him. And President Obama put out a statement saying he had always been proud to be born in Hawaii and is even prouder now of his native state. Just another message to the birthers. I was born in Hawaii and I'm proud of it.
That's right.
Good for Hawaii, and just shows what an important issue this is and how much progress we've made in that area.
This is the Bill Press Show.
When danger is imminent.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It's Wednesday morning. Can you believe it? Wednesday, November 13. Hey, great to see you today. And welcome to the Bill Press Show this Wednesday morning, coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., where we will bring you the news of the day around the globe, in our across this great land of ours, and right here in our nation's capital, and, of course, give you a chance to sound off about it. We come to you live on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. Free Speech TV, of course, on your satellite, either the Dish Network or DirecTV. And TawkrTV online. Go to youtube.com/TawkrTV. All right. On the healthcare front, pressure is growing on the administration to get that website fixed by November 30, but it is getting better every day. But because of those problems, the White House is already admitting, Jay Carney told us at the briefing yesterday, that the first enrollment numbers, which will be released later this week, are going to be lower than they had hoped for. Yeah, big surprise. Meanwhile, the White House says President Obama is determined to find a way to let people who have a health care plan right now, and as he promised, and want to hold on to it, to be able to do so, or at least not pay more for a better plan. These problems, of course, are taking their toll on the president. His approval rating today is down to 39% approval, but there is some consolation for President Obama out there. The approval rating for Congress is actually down to 9%. In other news, engineers have decided that New York, in fact, has the world's tallest building now. Sorry, Chicago. Here we go on the Bill Press Show. Stay with us.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Oh, you should pick that up. Oh, you're such a dork. Loser. Here, let me help you with that. Oops.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
Oh, look. Your crush is looking at you. Poor you.
They want to help, but don't know how.
See, no one here's gonna help you, because no one
Teach your
likes
kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
Did you see the world differently? Did you celebrate the victory?
So today, I state clearly and with conviction America's commitment to seek the peace and security of a world without nuclear weapons.
Did you stand up against our greatest threat? Change the world.
broadcasting around the nation on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
President Obama not too happy today that his approval rating is down to 39%, but that's okay, Mr. President. The approval rating for members of Congress is down to 9%. So you got them beat. Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, November 13. Good to see you today. And thank you for being part of the Bill Press Show as we boom out to you live all across this great land of ours, coast to coast. Starting out right here in Washington, D.C., in our studio on Capitol Hill. We're just down the street from the United States Capitol building, where the House and the Senate are back in session this week. Don't expect them to get anything done. There's a big Benghazi hearing in the House today. I think this is, by my count, number 673 hearings on Benghazi that Darrell Issa has held, at any rate, and still beating that dead horse. Other than that, not much expected to happen. But we will bring you up to date on the news from our nation's capital, such as it is, around the country and around the globe, where U.S. warships and British warships are headed as part of the relief effort to the Philippines. 100 Marines already on land in the Philippines to help those people recover from that horrific typhoon that ripped across the land on Sunday. Again, wherever it's happening, we'll tell you what's going on and open up the phones, give you a chance to talk about it at 866-55-PRESS, coming to you live on your local progressive talk radio station. With our team this morning, Peter Ogburn leading the team. Alicia Cruz has the phones ready for your calls at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding has us looking good, this radio show, looking good on TV, on Free Speech TV at on your satellite dish network, or, did I get that right?
Yeah, Dish Network, Direct TV.
Or a Dish Network. And online, you can watch the video stream at TawkrTV, TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. Healthcare is the big issue of the day, of course. Covering that for the National Journal, correspondent Sam Baker joins us here in studio this morning. Sam, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Coming all the way across town here from wherever, but early in the morning. We always appreciate that.
Sure.
He's right here on the hill. He lives in the neighborhood.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Part of our growing.
We have to take the credit, but
we have a growing group of friends who live right here in the hood.
No, we're trying to build up a whole, stable of friends and experts who live on the hill. Well, we can just roust them out of bed.
At a moment's notice.
It worked for you today.
Sorry.
On a moment's notice. Well, I have to tell you, she's out there. She's on a tear. She's got a new book out, I guess. Sarah Palin. She refuses to go away. And she'll talk about anything, anytime, anywhere, as she proved yesterday. Sarah Palin, in an interview with Jake Tapper on CNN, used to be ABC, CNN, he asked her about the Pope. Okay, she's not Catholic. She doesn't know beans about the Pope, but that doesn't stop her from talking about her response, her reaction to Pope Francis.
I'm kind of trying to follow what his agenda is. I'm surprised that he came out with a couple of things in the media, but then again, I'm not one to trust the media's interpretation of somebody's message. But having read through media outlets that he's had some statements that to me sound kind of liberal, has taken me aback. It's kind of surprised me. But there again, unless I really dig deep into what his messaging is and do my own homework, I'm not going to just trust what I hear in the media.
No, unless I do. She just contradicts herself. Unless I do my own homework, I'm not going to talk about the Pope. And then she proceeds to do so for like 5 minutes. I love it.
But to be fair, she was very taken aback.
Taken aback. But, it is true that the Pope did say something very, very liberal. He said maybe we ought to think about the poor.
Communist.
Yeah, right. God, maybe he'd read the Gospels. Too much. Anyhow, so Sam Baker here for the first half hour, and then we'll be joined this hour. Then we'll be joined by Congressman Chris Van Hollen, the ranking Democrat on the House Budget Committee. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Yes, indeed, the world's tallest building is back in New York City. Tuesday afternoon, the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat declared that One World Trade Center will be the tallest building when it is completed. There was some debate over the title. The main issue was whether a 400-foot needle atop One World Trade Center would be counted in the total height of the tower. The council declared that it would be eligible, and that was enough to put them over the top. Its total height will be 1,776 feet. The new second tallest building will reside in Chicago. That is the Willis Tower, which more people probably know better as formerly the Sears Tower, which is 1,451 feet tall.
You know, I don't have a dog in this fight, really, but I think Chicago got screwed with this designation because
oh man,
I've seen them both, and I was just up at the World Trade Center, and that's a tall building with an antenna on top of it. I'm sorry, it is. I think, and you put it this way: you can go to the top of the Willis Tower, right? You cannot go to the top of the One World Trade Center because you can't go up the antenna.
That is true.
So I'm for Chicago. It's been
Shots
the tallest
fired.
building for 40 years. So there you go.
Okay, all right. A fitting end for Blockbuster. We got news that Blockbuster video stores will be closing down for good, and while they're not completely closed just yet, they are in the process of shutting down. They have rented out their final movie. And Blockbuster's Twitter account sent out a photo of a Hawaiian customer in a store in Hawaii that rented out the James Franco, Seth Rogen comedy, This Is the End, to a customer. So you can see how this would be an appropriate final rental for Blockbuster.
Sam, have you been? I don't know how long you've lived on the Hill. Remember the big block? Do you remember the big Blockbuster store was right
there
down
on 8th Street? Yeah,
right on 8th Street, right around the corner, right?
It lasted
Huge
a while.
Store. Yeah,
it was probably one of the last to go.
Gone.
I can't imagine that one in Hawaii is ever going to get that back.
Right. Right.
Pretty much just gave that guy a copy of This Is the End.
Yeah, basically. What are they going to do?
You know what? Absolutely. That means if they don't get it back, they'll have to stay open.
Yeah, right.
Waiting for the return.
And speaking of 8th Street, the POTUS dined out in the neighborhood right there on 8th Street. President Obama and Vice President Joe Biden took 5 active duty service members to lunch on Tuesday afternoon at a place just down the street from where we are right now. Molly Malone's is an Irish-themed restaurant bar in the Barracks Row section of Washington, D.C. And while reporters were kept at a distance, one of the photos that was released showed everyone in the party was drinking water. No beer. It was lunch, after all. No bar. One reporter, by the way, the radio pool reporter, knocked a glass off of the bar while they were eating and shattered it. The president was overheard shouting, "Put that on their tab."
Well, wait. This story has many layers already. Because Molly Malone's used to be owned by our partner here on the Bill Press Show, Paul Woodhall.
That's right.
When it was called Finn McCool's.
Which Rush Limbaugh once attacked and called it Drinky McLosers.
Drinky McLosers. And the president and the vice president and his party ate upstairs at Molly Malone's.
That's right.
Which there's a plaque on the wall up there that says that it is in that room that the Bill Press team first met and interviewed for the job of executive producer of the Bill Press Show, Peter Ogburn.
That's the first time we met, was in that room.
Right. Flew up from San Antonio for his interview, and we met upstairs at Finn McCool's and now Molly Malone's. So I hope the president realized that he was stepping into a very historic...
hallowed ground there. We also just drank water, if I recall, right?
Not that time.
Yeah, no, not that time. No, not nearly.
Well, all I got to say, Mr. President, is welcome to the hood.
There you go.
It was so funny that when I got to the White House yesterday for the briefing, there was a lot of buzz because the president was leaving campus, and there was nothing on the schedule. It had not been announced that he was going to take a trip at noontime, and suddenly you could tell preparations were underway for the president to leave campus. Everybody said, "Where's he going? Where's he going?" They're asking me, and I said, "I have no idea." It was the first time I knew he was leaving campus, and then I checked my iPhone and found out that he was coming right up to our neighborhood here for lunch with the vice president.
Could have saved you the trip. Just stop by.
I know.
Yeah, right?
I know. Yeah, I should have just gone over to Molly Malone's and hung out. Right. All right. On the healthcare front, Sam, this is what you've been working on. Let me ask you the most important question. I think, for the White House. What is your take on? They've set themselves a deadline for November 30. We're going to have the website fixed, and everybody can just go in and sign up. Is that going to happen?
November 30th isn't that far away.
I know.
We're getting up to it. It's not looking good. There was a story in the Washington Post this morning or last night saying, quoting an official, so we don't know who that is, but saying that they don't think that they're going to make it. You've noticed Obama phrased it in that NBC News interview as it'll be available to the vast majority of users. So, I don't know. If they do, I think things will be okay. That's what most experts say, that is sort of the drop-dead deadline. And if not, then we really start looking at some structural problems, not just political problems.
And inevitable delay, probably, huh?
Of something, but every delay has sort of second and third order effects. You can't delay the mandate without delaying the enrollment window and vice versa. And when you do those things, are you hurting the risk pool, sort of giving young and healthy people an incentive to stay out of the system? Mm-hmm. It's really would be a huge amount better not to have to do that. But
reporters at the White House, we have been in the briefings pressing for, okay, how many people have really signed up? How many people have really signed up? I mean, what's the bottom line here? And the response has been, look, we're not going to do this on a day-to-day basis. We're going to do what Massachusetts did. We're going to once a month, in the middle of the month, we'll put out the numbers. Well, this is November 13, and so Jay Carney has said yesterday that by the end of this week, we will have the first round of enrollment numbers for the federal exchange. And he admitted that they're going to be lower than they had hoped because of the problems with the website. No way around that, is there?
No, there's not. And it's sort of...
They had hoped to report millions by now, right? And they're not.
Yeah, they had hoped for about 500,000.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Between the... all told, 500,000 in private plans, not counting Medicaid. Looks like they'll probably get maybe around 100,000, so pretty far short of that. And they're right that it was pretty clear on October 1st when the website launched that it wasn't working. That was always going to drive down enrollment, but they also had a target for a reason and need to get to that target to have enough people in there to sort of make this work. So,
and it is true that looking at the Massachusetts model, that enrollment starts out very slow and then picks up as you get closer to the deadline.
Yes.
But they just didn't want it or expect it to be this
slow.
Right.
And it has to, all of these problems that we talk about, at least politically, I think all come back to the website. The website has to work in order for people to sign up at the end of the window. And people have to sort of not just write it off and say, oh, that punchline of a website, I'm not even going to go bother.
Mm-hmm. And on the other problem that the White House is dealing with right now, of course, are the existing plans where people who that 95% have health insurance through their workplace, not bothered. 5% at the most have health insurance on their own, independent plans, some of which are really crappy plans, right?
For sure.
And there's a slice of that 5% who are getting letters from the insurance company who already have, maybe a lot of them, millions of them actually, saying you're going to have to change plans. What's going to happen to those people? The president had promised, as we know, we've played it over and over again on our program here, that if you have a plan and you like it and you want to keep it, you can. Not the case, right?
That's right. Not the case. He's right to say that a lot of people who have these plans will be getting what he would call an upgrade, a better plan. And a lot of people in this market are going to get financial assistance to help pay for their plan. So there are two good things that can happen. A lot of people will have both of them happen. Some people will just end up losing. They'll pay more for a plan that's probably pretty similar to what they already had. But that is a subset of that 5%.
Right.
Probably a pretty small one.
Pretty small subset. Yeah. But so how are they going to fix it, though? In fact, one idea came yesterday. I'm not sure the White House was pleased to hear this. A bit of advice from former President Bill Clinton.
I personally believe, even if it takes a change in the law, the president should honor the commitment the federal government made to those people and let them keep what they got.
Are they going to do that?
It's hard to see how they can do that. The White House says it's looking for something administrative that doesn't require Congress. I don't know what that would be. I've talked to a lot of health policy experts. They don't see what that option would be. And if it's Congress, good luck getting the House to actually do something that the White House wants and vice versa. I don't see any reason to believe that the deadlock we've had for however many years now is going to change just for this. No, I know that we've been told at the White House that we have the president's looking and he's asked his staff to come up with every possible alternative for fixing this problem. But the alternative of going to Congress, right, and opening that Pandora's box, right? God knows if you got a bill that did that little thing, what else might be in that legislation, right? So I think they're trying to do it without requiring an act of Congress. Wouldn't you agree? I do. I think that's exactly right. And there just aren't that many options to do that. Part of the reason is because it's a problem because it's a headache, but it's not like a side effect. This is something that the law had set requirements for insurance plans and tried to get people into those plans. This is how this was supposed to work. But the big question is, will these problems be fixed? And once they are, what is the long-term prognosis for the Affordable Care Act? Sam Baker has got the answers. He's with the National Journal, of course, healthcare correspondent, nationaljournal.com. And we'll be back and be glad to take your calls. Join the conversation, your questions, your comments at 866-55-PRESS, or your experience with the website.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we have pep talkers standing by to get you motivated for your GED diploma. Text the name Terry to 69222 for a sympathetic pep talk.
You show people what you really are.
Or for a gentle pep talk, text the name Deborah.
You know you're going to make people very proud of you.
And if that's not enough, text the name Danny for an extreme pep talk.
Prove everyone wrong. Show them you're the boss.
Get your GED pep talk and find free GED classes. Text the name of the person you want a pep talk from to 69222.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It's 27 minutes after the hour. Congressman Chris Van Hollen coming up in the next half hour. Sam Baker with us from the National Journal on healthcare. And Sam, my question is, all right, obviously off to a rocky start, but what's the end of this story going to look like, do you believe, for Obamacare?
I think it depends when the website is functional and how functional. If they meet the deadline that they've set, the end of the month, I think in the long run it'll look okay. That still leaves plenty of time for people to sign up for plans on time and to at least get enough people in that you can sort of right the ship next year. This doesn't all have to happen in the first year, but you do have to be able to get close enough to your target in the first year to sort of have a good launching pad to make improvements.
So the program survives, right? Critics are not able to kill it or defund it, and people sign up, and in the end, you think it'll be a success?
I think if people can get in the door, then even Republicans say that that's their fear, that people are going to start getting, in their minds, an entitlement, but help paying for their health care, and that's going to be a thing that the government provides now, and people will like it.
Yeah, and you're right. That's what they fear. They fear the success of it, and when it is successful, they'll stop calling it Obamacare because they don't want to get any credit. Hey, Sam, good to meet you. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Come back again. Sam Baker from the National Journal.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
Your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It is 33 minutes after the hour. The Bill Press Show on this Wednesday, November 13. And Congress is back in session with some very important items in front of it. One of which is not Darrell Iss's hearing today on Benghazi. I mean, how many times can they beat that dead horse? They continue to do so. But more importantly, the Budget Conference Committee is meeting again today with a very important goal of coming up with a budget plan, a combination of maybe some new cuts, but certainly some new revenue. And also there is a lot of talk about what Congress might want to do to help resolve these early kind of bumps in the road for the Affordable Care Act. Right in the middle of all of it, the ranking Democrat on the House Budget Committee, our good friend from the state of Maryland, Congressman Chris Van Hollen. Hey, Congressman, always good to see you.
Always good to be here, Bill.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
If you will pardon me just 1 second, I know a lot of you have been wondering, what the hell am I doing wearing this scarf in the studio today? I didn't mention it earlier, but I want you to know I'm wearing this scarf because my wife told me to. Because
it's very sharp. It's very sharp.
You.
Yeah.
She weaves these. She's a weaver. This is one of her original scarves. They're beautiful scarves. And if you want to find out more about them and maybe think Hanukkah and think Christmas, go to the website, and at the very top there's a link on BillPressShow.com. At the very top there's a link to Carol Press Scarves, and you will be a happy camper. And so on anybody in your family, you make a gift like that too. So, Congressman, let's start with the Budget Committee because we haven't heard much about it. In fact, somebody said the other day, hey, let's remember there's this big thing going on here. Or is the committee doing any work?
Well, Bill, we've got to step up the pace. My view is we've got to turbocharge this effort. It's not been moving nearly as quickly as it should be. My view is we should have a agreement at least far along by Thanksgiving. There's no reason we shouldn't be able to put together a framework agreement. We do have a meeting today, a public meeting that will be attended by Doug Elmendorf, who's the head of the Congressional Budget Office. But there's no reason we shouldn't get this done. And I hope people will remember the shameful government shutdown we saw that long ago, and the threats of default. And this budget negotiation is designed to prevent that kind of thing from happening again.
Now, this is not another super committee, right? There's not like a big turbocharge of whatever cloud over your head.
Right. No, this is not a super committee. We don't have, quote, superpowers like the super committee did.
Yeah.
But it is a group that's...
And no sequester hanging. That's what the word I was looking for.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
But of course, if this committee does not reach an agreement, the likely result is when you come 2014, January 15th of 2014, the sequester would remain in effect. And the Congressional Budget Office, which, as you know, is our nonpartisan referee, has told us that if the sequester remains in effect throughout the fiscal year 2014, we will see 800,000 fewer jobs in this country by this time next year. That's the Congressional Budget Office. So it's doing damage to the economy. It's eating away at important investments right now as we speak. And so it would be smart to replace that sequester cuts, very deep and immediate cuts, with a smarter long-term deficit reduction plan.
Do you have a deadline for your committee?
Well, the deadline is December 13th.
Okay.
And so we're working hard to try and get something done. As I said, I would like to see something put together even before that so that the appropriators, the folks who decide how to allocate the amount, overall amounts in the budget, can get to work. They really can't get to work in earnest until we tell them how much they've got available.
I know there is sort of the feeling, it seems, in this Congress that if you have a deadline, you don't do anything until the very last minute, right? What you're saying,
and of course,
you don't have to wait till December 12 to meet the December 13.
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And of course, in the case of October 1st government shutdown, there are people that said, well, let's just wait till we get closer to the deadline. And what happened? They totally missed the deadline and shut down the government. Again, all because of an ideological agenda.
And what is the goal as you see it? The president keeps talking about a balanced approach, right? Of cuts and revenues. Is there any sense from the committee and the Republicans on the committee that revenues have to be part of the equation?
Well, Republicans have taken the position that you can't close a single tax loophole, not one special interest tax loophole, for the purpose of reducing the deficit or for the purpose of replacing the sequester. Their argument is that if you get rid of a tax loophole, you've got to drop the tax rates. And in fact, their budget would provide a windfall tax break for the wealthiest people in this country, for multimillionaires. They would drop the top tax rate from 39% to 25%. That's a third cut in tax rates for millionaires in this country. And so what we said is that's ridiculous. If you really care about reducing the deficit, you should look for savings in terms of cutting some of the programs that we're going to have to look at, but focus on the out years. But you should also close some of these tax loopholes. I mean, some of these, as you know, actually reward and encourage corporations that ship American jobs overseas and provide huge incentives for multinational corporations to park their profits in places like the Cayman Islands. Some of them hire some of the corporations hire up to 1,000 lawyers to engineer their taxes in a way to keep it overseas, and as opposed to helping reduce the deficit
Plus
and
the tax
investing here at
loopholes
home.
for the oil companies that we've been talking about for a long time. I mean, there are plenty of...
Those are big subsidies for the big oil companies, and there's no reason taxpayers should continue to shell out subsidies to companies that are, great, doing very well, but they should do well without taxpayer support and subsidies.
And meanwhile, you mentioned the sequester. A lot of people have forgotten that the sequester cuts are in place, or feel that, well, the economy seems to be moving along. I mean, life goes on, and so maybe the sequester wasn't so bad after all. How bad is it?
Well, the economy is moving, but it's moving way too slowly. And one of the things that is placing a drag on the economy right now, as we speak, is the sequester. Now, if you get rid of the sequester, is it going to turbocharge the economy and put it into super fast gear? No. But if you get rid of the sequester, you will have 800,000 more jobs in the country by this time next year than you would otherwise have. And 800,000 jobs is a lot of jobs. I mean, getting rid of 800,000 jobs is like wiping out the last 4 or 5 months in job growth. I don't have the exact figure, but
it was 204,000 last in October.
Well, that's right. So that was a larger number
right.
Than recently. So again, 800,000 jobs, taking that off the table is like taking the last 4 or 5 months of job growth off the table. That's something we can't afford in this country. So it's not that it's the miracle cure, but why do any damage to the economy? I mean, it's just not necessary. It's a self-inflicted wound.
Well, Congressman, with you on the Budget Committee, if there's a chance of getting anything done, I know we will get something done. Godspeed on that. I want to also ask you then about there have been some initial problems with the Affordable Care Act. First, with the website, having people not being able to go there and sign up so readily, facing all kinds of delays, and then secondly, with people a small percentage of people, but it's still millions of people who have their own insurance plan right now and happen to like it. And the president had always said, if you got one and you like it, you can keep it, which turns out not to be the case. Will Congress act on this, do you believe, to change the law, or what do you see happening here? Or what should happen?
Well, just first to put things in context, right? The Affordable Care Act, as you know, did 3 important things. Number one, it provided important consumer protections for people who currently have insurance. Those provisions were in place before October 1st of this year, allowing people to keep their kids on their insurance policies until 26. All that good stuff. And so let's just remember, when the Republicans said they want to repeal the Affordable Care Act, they're talking about repealing all that. They're also talking about repealing the additional protections for folks on Medicare, where we closed the prescription drug donut hole and those things. The other part of the Affordable Care Act was to fix the most broken part of the insurance market, the individual market. If you look at the premium increases in that market from 2000 to 2008, they more than doubled. People were thrown off their insurance policies, often when they got sick because of the fine print. So the exchanges were designed to take care of that. Now, the problem is when the president said, if you like it, you could keep it, it did not take into account the fact that insurance companies, through this year, the insurance companies could make the decision to not renew your insurance policy. But I do want to be clear that the Affordable Care Act does not prohibit any insurance company from renewing any insurance policy in place right now for one more year. Now, there are about 11 states, approximately, that have said they want to transition to the Affordable Care Act and the exchanges more quickly. And they've said in those states that insurance companies have to accelerate compliance. But there are lots of people who are getting these notices from insurance companies where it's the decision from the insurance company as opposed to a decision from the, as a result of the Affordable Care Act. And people need to understand that. Now, it is the case that by the end of 2014, all plans have to meet minimal consumer protection standards. But in terms of right now, those notices that are going out, they are not as a result of the Affordable Care Act that some of these companies are deciding not to renew their policies for one more year.
All right. Let's take a quick break and come back to that, because it doesn't kick in until 2014, but some people are getting those letters now. So is there any relief for them coming out of this Congress? Congressman Chris Van Hollen with us from the state of Maryland, ranking Democrat on the House Budget Committee and part of the Democratic leadership. Always welcome. Your call is always welcome at 866-55-PRESS.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now.
As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, 12 minutes before the top of the hour with Congressman Chris Van Hollen, our good friend here in the studio with us. So, Congressman, we were talking about this problem of people that one of the issues facing the White House right now, that the president had assured people who have a health plan that they like and want to keep, that they would be able to keep it. Turns out not to be the case, and he's getting a lot of advice from many different fronts. There's several bills in Congress, one of we probably voted on today, which would say, yeah, let these people keep their plan. He got some advice yesterday from a former president, Bill Clinton.
I personally believe, even if it takes a change in the law, the president should honor the commitment the federal government made to those people and let them keep what they got.
Honor his commitment, meaning you got a crappy plan, but you like it, you can keep it. Is that going to happen? Should it?
Well, look, there may be a vote tomorrow or the next day on a proposal that Fred Upton, Congressman Upton in the House, has put forward. I don't know if that proposal has been finalized. It was very much in flux. But I think we should caution people to be very careful about how we go about addressing this issue. I agree with the president and the former president that we should look for ways to cushion the short-term unanticipated consequences that people are feeling. But you don't want the remedy to be worse than the original problem. And the Center for Budget Priorities and others have shown that if you adopt the Upton measure, for example, you will see a spike in insurance premiums in 2015 because what you will be extending or allowing is the cherry picking of the insurance pool, and that will just drive up premiums for everybody else. And so, yes, we should look for ways to address these issues, but again, let's not do something that actually makes the problem worse for the majority of Americans.
We were talking in the last hour, and you and I were talking in the break, about the importance of 2014. Forget the speculation about 2016. Let's get back the House, control the House in 2016. make Nancy Pelosi Speaker again. Let's pick up a couple of seats in the Senate. Let's win a lot of those 36 governorships around the country, which means a lot of Democrats are going to be on the line. As you were head of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, did a damn good job for two terms, as I recall. Are Democrats going to run on or run from Obamacare in 2014?
Well, you're right, Bill. I headed the DCCC for 2 cycles. One was a great cycle. One was a really tough cycle. But we got through. We tried to limit the damage in a tough year.
Good job,
look, I think people need to embrace the benefits of the Affordable Care Act. We talked earlier about 2 major pieces of it that are in place and working well. And when it comes to the individual market, Americans need to just remember what a broken market this has been, which is one of the main reasons we passed the Affordable Care Act to begin with, because in that market, studies show that the turnover is huge. I mean, some of the average length of a plan is about 8 months. It's less than a year. Just there's so much churning in that market, according to a number of studies and changes. And we want to provide some stability in that market and make sure that people wouldn't lose their insurance when they lose their job, right? In this country, historically, your insurance has been linked to your job. So if you lose your job, you're out of luck in terms of health care for yourself and your family. Yes, the exchanges have, and the computer system for the exchanges has seen a bungled start. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They need to work 24/7 to fix it. But to suggest that we should go back to the status quo before the Affordable Care Act is even worse. And, Republicans, they may be sort of smiling at all the problems that the Affordable Care is having now, but they never put an alternative on the table as a party. They talked about repealing the Affordable Care Act with nothing to replace it. And so what they're saying is that we should go back to the pre-Affordable Care Act days when people did not have the protections in their insurance plans, so that kids with pre-existing conditions, could be denied coverage. Seniors would fall into the prescription drug donut hole, and they wanted to have an individual market system that continues to be broken. We're trying to fix that. They're stumbling out of the gate in terms of the computer system, but the fact that over 20 million people went to look in the very first couple days at what was available in the exchange market is indication of the huge demand for affordable care.
So you think Democrats can run on the Affordable Care Act in 2014 and win?
I think they can run on it and they can win on it, but they have to be on offense. And I would point out that there's been a lot of misinformation about the governor's race in Virginia because Jeff Guerin, who is the pollster for Terry McAuliffe, has made clear that this sort of public narrative that Cuccinelli put out at the end, that the reason they closed the gap was because of the problems with the Affordable Care Act, just isn't true. As Jeff Guerin pointed out, their polling showed, internal polling showed, that the race was always between 2% and 4%, with one spike for, during the government shutdown. And when they, and the last point, when they asked people, do you want to fix the Affordable Care Act and make sure it works or get rid of it, people said, let's make sure it works better.
Congressman Chris Van Hollen, always good to have you here.
Good to have you.
Good stuff. We'll be right back.
Good to be here.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, folks, as you know, this is a 3-hour town hall every morning. Not just 2 hours, but Free Speech TV doesn't carry the third hour. So you can fix that by switching over to TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV. And on our third hour together, a lot more to cover. Jennifer Bendery, great reporter for the Huffington Post, is going to be here in studio with us as a friend of Bill. And we'll be joined by Gregg Birnbaum from Politico. Lots more coming up. Stay around.
In the early 20th century, the war to end all wars didn't end war at all. It stoked the fires of change. A traumatized world was ripe for change. The world was ready for modernism. Modernists wanted to forget history, or at least reinterpret it. More than just a style, modernism applied to virtually all forms of creative expression. Innovative artists like Picasso, Escher, Dali, they all started looking at their world differently. Other artists tried painting light itself. These were the Impressionists. Surrealists went a bit further. We had entered the age of the isms: Cubism, Symbolism, Futurism, Constructivism. All these new modern ways of looking at the world blew people away. When it came to architecture, modernists were intrigued by emerging technology. Concrete, glass and steel featured heavily in their buildings. Modernists believed that they could design a better society. Ornamental indulgence was considered a frivolous waste of effort. They thought function should always dictate form, and that mankind's intelligence, creativity and capability for radical thinking should be celebrated. Take the Russian inventor Georgy Krutikov. He suggested an idea for a city held aloft by electrical currents. This at a time when there was barely enough wattage to keep the lights on. Not everything they designed was a resounding success. But you could argue modernism was the single most influential movement of the 20th century. From house music to housewares, tables and chairs to graphic design, all have been created by the aesthetics and ideas of modernism.
Jennifer Bendery from Huffington Post will be here as a friend of Bill for the next hour. President Obama meeting with faith leaders at the White House today to seek their help on immigration reform. Then he goes over to the Interior Department to speak to the Tribal Nations Conference, 3:30 this afternoon. Back at the White House, he'll be meeting with Secretary of State John Kerry and Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. Jay Carney scheduled our briefing today for a little later than usual at 2:15 p.m. No plans for the president to come to lunch on Capitol Hill today, but he did yesterday. He's welcome back anytime.
Bill Press Show. Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
President Obama wakes up with some bad news. His approval rating is down to 39%. But the good news is Congress is down to 9%. So he's a hell of a lot better off than they are. Hey, good morning, everybody. What do you say? Hello, hello. And welcome. Welcome to the Bill Press Show this Wednesday, November 13, coming to you live from our nation's capital and our studio on Capitol Hill. And this hour, we are here on your local progressive talk station. And this hour, we are here on our video stream at TawkrTV, youtube.com/TawkrTV, TAWKRTV. Listen and watch and talk to us. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS and let us know what you think about the issues of the day. Your opinions as valuable as any of ours. except maybe for Jen Bendery. You know, her opinions are worth more than anybody else's. She's here as a friend of Bill this hour. That's why we bring her in. She always has such important things to say. She covers the Hill for Huffington Post and the White House. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Hi, Bill. I'm good.
Thanks for getting up early for us this morning.
I'm doing my best.
You had your coffee or
I have my tea.
You got your tea. All right, good. And the team is here to lend their support, starting with Peter Ogburn.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jen. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
With Alicia Cruz on the phones, as always, waiting for your calls. And Cyprian Bolding keeps us looking good on Free Speech TV and on TawkrTV. So the big rivalry between New York and Chicago, who has the tallest building in the world, was resolved yesterday, at least officially, by, get this, I never knew this organization existed, the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a one-man band, actually.
That's a great gig.
His name is Anthony Wood, and he said, here's our decision.
America's tallest building, when it completes next year, will be One World Trade Center.
In New York. Because he said that big thing on top of it is not an antenna, it's a spire. Spire,
yeah.
Spire.
Technically, if you could have a building that has 1,000-foot long antenna on top, and it doesn't count because it's considered an antenna.
Now, I've seen that building.
Yeah.
To me, it's an antenna.
It looks
and to Rahm Emanuel from Chicago, Mayor of Chicago,
he mad.
He is not happy about this. He's pretty pissed, and he let it be known yesterday.
If it looks like an antenna, acts like an antenna, then guess what? It is an antenna. That's number one. Number two, I think if at the Willis Tower, you will have a view that's unprecedented in its beauty and its landscape and its capacity to capture something you can't do from an antenna.
I think that's a good point. You can go to the very top of the Willis Building in Chicago. You can't go to the very top of the One Trade Center because it's a spire.
But
right?
in the Chicago building, you can also go to the top and stand on that little platform that has a glass bottom on the top floor and look down. It is so dizzying and awesome.
I haven't done that.
I mean, you see these little yellow dots below, and you're like, "What is that?" And it's like, "Oh, it's taxi cabs." You're so high up, and you just look straight through the glass.
Yeah. So I'm for the Willis Tower.
I am too.
I'm for Chicago in this thing. Yep. And I think that all of our listeners out on WCPT, we should start a protest movement in front of the offices of the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat. Tell them they're wrong. We need a recount, don't you think?
Let's do it.
Yeah, nothing against
How
New
much
York.
taller is it? Did they give a number?
Yeah, the One World Trade Center is 1,776 feet tall. And then the Willis Tower is 1,451 feet tall.
Wow, so that's like 300 feet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got them by a good 300.
Yeah. All right. I still go with Chicago on this. Jen Bendery here for the first half hour. We'll be joined by Gregg Birnbaum from Politico a little bit later to tell us what Sarah Palin is up to on her wacky book tour. But first... Yes,
I'm here.
Are you there?
A little slow on the uptake there. Sorry. Well, you just mentioned recounts. Speaking of recounts, it looks like we're going to have one in the state of Virginia in the Attorney General's race. It comes down to 163 votes. That's the lead that State Senator Mark Herring has over Senator Mark Obenshain in that race. 2.2 million votes were cast, and last night was the deadline for all municipalities to report their numbers. And again, he is Mark Herring, Democrat, leading Mark Obenshain by 163 votes. There will be a recount.
I was going to say, there will be a recount for sure. But, it just really gets down to 2.2 million, right?
Yep.
Everybody says that your vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
It really does
proof that it does.
Sure
Every
does.
cycle, a story similar to this happens. It just proves it's important to get out and vote.
They're calling them already landslide herring.
And POTUS dined out in the neighborhood.
How many dangling chads?
Oh, God, please. No. President Obama and Vice President Biden took 5 active duty service members to lunch Tuesday afternoon at a place just down the street from where we are right now, Molly Malone's. It's an Irish-themed restaurant bar in the Barracks Row section of Washington, D.C. Reporters were kept at a distance, but the one photo that we saw released showed that everybody in the party was drinking water No beer at the bar/restaurant. The radio pool reporter accidentally knocked a glass off of the bar during lunch and shattered it. The president was overheard saying, "Put that on their tab."
That was Mac, the reporter for Maklowitz, I think is the last name. The reporter for Fox News Radio. Knocked the glass off the bar.
I also saw the pool reports, and one detail they noted was that the loudest laughter that could be heard in the whole bar was Joe Biden.
I mean, of course it was.
Yeah, right.
I mean, who else would it be?
But what was funny is, so I went down for the briefing yesterday, and as I got there was all this buzz about POTUS is leaving campus. What's going on? Where is he? And you're asking me, and I said, I don't know. I just got here. I didn't know he was leaving campus. There was nothing on the schedule. And then a few minutes later, I turned out, where is he? Where is he? He's right down the street from this studio here, right? So I just should have stayed here.
And gas continues to go lower. New federal numbers show that Americans are paying 7 cents per gallon less than what they were paying just a week ago. We're paying 26 cents per gallon less than we were this time last year. The national average currently sits at $3.17, and gas watchers predict that the price will only go lower as we approach Thanksgiving and Christmas. Many parts of the country are already seeing it at under $3 per gallon, and one expert quoted saying that the national average will be $3 and a nickel in time for Christmas. $3.05 will be the national average at Christmas, which you never see. It always goes up in time for the holiday.
No. But here's the story here to me is the Dow also this week, right? The highest it's ever been in history. That was probably on page 29 of the New York Times. If the Dow had crashed 200 points, it would have been page 1.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with gas prices.
Yeah.
Gas prices going, in this case, down, lowest than they've been ever at a holiday time. Nobody's talking about it. If gas prices were going up close to $4, it would be all over
leading
the news.
It would
be leading the news. Yeah.
We don't have any control over that, do we? The gas prices are an internationally defined
Depends on
market,
the price,
right?
yeah, price of oil and just the way they move the oil around, right?
So, I mean, I guess Obama couldn't exactly come out and say, hey, look at, I'm doing great things, and the gas prices are low.
No, exactly. He can't take credit for it, but also he can't then, therefore, he can't
There's one
really
less
be
thing
blamed.
that can go after him.
He can't be blamed when they go up, because they go up every summer, every spring or summer, whatever. But people blame him for it anyhow. So, Jen, you've been writing about, and this is something we haven't talked about, and I think is extremely important, not many people are talking about, which is what's happening with judicial nominations on the Hill. And we saw it again yesterday, Republicans filibustering these judicial nominations. Why? Are these people so unqualified?
No, there's 3 nominees right now to a very powerful court, the D.C. Circuit Court. It's the second most powerful court in the country after the Supreme Court.
It's considered sort of a stepping stone.
Yeah, there's several people who have gone on to the Supreme Court from this court, including John Roberts, who's now the Chief Justice. And yesterday, Senate Republicans filibustered the second nominee to that court in 2 weeks' time. So there's 3 empty seats on the court. Obama has 3 nominees. And we're now at number 2. The second one has now been filibustered. The third nominee is probably going to come up in the next couple weeks and is expected to also be filibustered. So, no, it's not anything about these nominees. And the catch, the funny part about it all is that Republicans will even admit that this isn't about them. They'll say, hey, you know what? I don't really have any problems with these 3 nominees. We just don't think Obama should fill the court. We don't think Obama should put people in the empty seats on the court. And they're pretty much abdicating their responsibility. I mean, the president has a constitutional duty to fill empty court seats. Any president. Right.
And the alternative to not filling them, right, is just backlog, delays, and more costly trials, I would imagine.
Right. And a jammed up judiciary. And it's not just this court. This is happening all over the country. And Republicans have done a very good job of preventing courts from having their seats filled. So there's some courts right now that are actually in a category of being crisis. There's a term, a judicial crisis, that is defined, and there's several courts that have been in this state since like 2007, and the Republicans just aren't letting them get filled.
And what happens? What is so the vote comes up and the nomination is filibustered. Is there nothing the administration can do about that? Is there nothing Harry Reid can do about that?
Well, there is something they can do, and there's been some real talk about this one. They can reform the Senate filibuster rules. They can say, hey, okay, you Republicans, you've been abusing the filibuster. you're using it in a way that you're not supposed to use it, which is just blocking everybody. So we might go ahead and just change the Senate filibuster rules and take that power away from you, so you wouldn't have the ability to filibuster certain nominees. So that would be a really big deal.
Is that what they call the nuclear option?
It's also known as the nuclear option. But all that really means is they would take away the power of the minority, who in this case is the Republican Party, to filibuster certain nominees. At least in this case, it would be probably specific to nominees.
Okay, now that was threatened before.
That's right.
And as I recall, and you cover this stuff on a day-to-day basis, I come in and out of it, that at the very last minute, there was a little bipartisan group that got together and came up with some Band-Aid, at least.
You could apply what you just said to just about every major crisis on Capitol Hill. At 11:59 p.m., bipartisan group quickly comes up with a Band-Aid.
But didn't they come up with some way around?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did. But what happened?
So over the summer, they were getting very close to doing exactly what we're talking about now. That Harry Reid was up there saying, you know what, we've had it. You're blocking too many nominees that are not controversial. We need to fill these posts. The government can't operate without them, at least not as well. If you don't let up, we're going to change the rules. So at the last minute, they came up with a deal.
And what happened to that deal? Is that deal expired?
That deal was specific. It said, okay, Republicans said, okay, we'll let you get votes on these specific 9 nominees.
Got it.
And then the Democrats said, okay, give us those 9 nominees. Let us have them. What's key here to remember is that Democrats are saying, let us vote on them. They're not saying, let us pass them. They're just saying, let us vote on them.
Yeah.
So Harry Reid said, okay, we'll agree not to change the rules if you let us vote on these 9 nominees. So they agreed on it, and those 9 nominees got votes, and they all passed, and with little fanfare. I mean, most of them passed with Republican votes.
So what are the chances of getting another deal like that here? Any talk of that, or
well, it's not quite at that point. There's a real grumbling now about the level of obstruction of nominees again. But we're now, I think, with the plan, my guess is, since they've got 3 nominees to the D.C. Circuit Court, and that's a very important court to Obama, very important court to his legacy. They've just filibustered the second one. I think Harry Reid's going to put up the 3rd nominee. Watch and see what happens. He's probably going to be filibustered. That means all 3 will have been filibustered. And I think at that point, Harry Reid and other Democrats will feel they've got enough to make the case to say, look, you just filibustered all 3 of these nominees. We're going to change the rules unless you make a deal with us.
Right.
I predict something will happen before the end of the year.
It's got to, on judicial nominees.
Specifically on those 3.
Right. And then, on the other hand, you've got Lindsey Graham, right, who's put a hold on all other executive nominees, including Janet Yellen, because he wants to interview the witnesses from Benghazi based on the 60 Minutes report about Benghazi, which now CBS admits was bogus.
That's right. And as far as I can tell, Lindsey Graham has not said, oh, okay, well, since the report was bunk, then I'm going to back off my demands.
In fact, he said just the opposite. I'm going to still put on my hold.
So that's a pretty good illustration of the kind of blustering going on right now. I mean, there's really nothing, there's no substance behind that. They just want to jam a lot of these people. That's it.
So the Senate is back. They can't do anything on judicial nominees. The House is back also in session this week. Can we expect to see any action on a budget agreement, immigration reform, climate change, gun safety, health care, anything? Jennifer Bendery is here from the HuffPost. We'll be glad to take your calls at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
This is the Bill Press Show. On your radio, on TV, and online. This is the Bill Press Show.
It is 26 minutes after the hour. We are here in Washington, D.C. It's a little chilly this morning, so Jen Bendery is here. I like Jen. Do you like Jen or Jennifer?
I like it all.
All right.
There's many other things I could be called, and I'll take Jen or Jennifer.
Jen, all right.
Jen Bendery is here from the Huffington Post. She covers the Hill and the White House for Huffington Post. So, because it's so cold in Washington, you'll see that both Jen and I are wearing Carol Press scarves this morning here. They're beautiful, aren't they?
They are beautiful. And where do they come from, Bill?
Well, I'm wearing mine because Carol told me I had to this morning. But also, I wanted you to see. By the way, this is the bestseller, the red and black. Just, people love them. Men and women, right, red and black. It's Carol Press hand-woven scarf. If you want to find out more about it, think Hanukkah, think Christmas. Go to the website, BillPressShow.com. And just click on Carol Press Scarves, and you're there. And you can shop online, and she'll be happy to hear from you.
They're very soft. I can attest to this.
Beautiful.
Yeah, very soft.
He's not going to pay you for your endorsement, Jen.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to ask you about Darrell Issa today. Big hearing. Benghazi. How many hearings is this we've had on Benghazi?
I don't know.
Yeah. What's going on?
I don't know.
I mean, you lose track. You lose count after you, don't you really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what's the point?
Well, I mean, Republicans just want to try to keep it in the spotlight because they use the issue to take shots at Obama. They try. But there's really nothing left at this point to talk about.
Yeah. And you would think that after 60 minutes, it has egg on its face and it admits that they got the whole thing wrong, the Republicans might say, maybe we ought to move away from this.
It's just another thing. I mean, it's sort of similar to what they're doing with the Obamacare website, healthcare.gov, which has had all kinds of problems. But there's this leap now being made by Republicans all the time that, they're saying, look, healthcare.gov, the Obamacare website, has all these problems. We should not only get rid of the website, we should get rid of the whole program. There's all these, they're looking for anything they can, to take a shot at the president. So especially with Obamacare, if there's anything wrong with the rollout, that they're going to be using it as an excuse to say that it's time to get rid of the entire law.
Right.
But I'm not sure how you can justify a leap from a broken website to getting rid of a 3.5-year-old law that is, and let's not forget, it's a law that gives people health insurance.
Which they never had.
Who've never had it before.
Jennifer Bendery here from Huffington Post. We'll be joined by Gregg Birnbaum from Politico next.
Is the Bill Press Show. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go, 33 minutes after the hour. Happy Wednesday, November 13, 2013. The Bill Press Show, live from our nation's capital. And we are brought to you today by the International Association of Iron Workers, the good men and women of the Iron Workers Union who built the world's tallest building, so-called, in New York City. Did a great job of it, too. The sky is the limit for them, as they proved. You can find out more about their good work under President Walter Wise at their website, www.ironworkers.org. In studio with us, Jen Bendery from Huffington Post. She's back. Yeah, Jen is back, but also Sarah Palin is back. I just was hoping she'd go to Alaska and go fishing with Todd, and we'd never hear from her again. Not so lucky.
When the salmon make their run up on the Nishagak, that really is a beautiful thing.
That's still my favorite soundbite from Sarah Palin. Well, years and years ago. Gregg Birnbaum has been covering the latest appearances of Sarah Palin for Politico, Deputy Managing Editor, joining us on our news line this morning, Jen. Hey, Gregg, how are you?
Good morning. How are you?
All right. How exciting to have Sarah Palin back. So what is the excuse for this worldwide tour here now?
Well, she's got an excuse often used for a tour. She's got a book out about Christmas, protecting Christmas, and beating back the atheists who want to ruin the holiday. And, she's getting, so far, just launched her book tour. I think she's doing 15 stops, and indications are that she's getting some pretty big turnouts.
So this is the war on Christmas, right? Does she have apologized to Bill O'Reilly for stealing his idea?
No, but I think he's got enough books out, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind.
I think you're right. What was it that people were? Oh, I know. People were saying Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. That's what it was all based on, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. But she's been saying a lot of pretty outrageous things along the way. Something about the national debt, right?
Yeah, she did. She likened the situation with the national debt to slavery. She, essentially said it's a type of slavery, pointing out before she made the remarks that she wasn't saying anything racist, but she really has come under fire for kind of using such a charged language to talk about the national debt, and she was making the point about how China essentially, owns us because of the situation that we're facing with the debt. So she's provocative, and I think intentionally used a very provocative phrase, and it's drawn both a lot of media coverage and a lot of criticism.
And I guess, Jen, right, selling a lot of books.
Yeah, I'm sure it is drumming up publicity conveniently for her book.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at her quote, and it is kind of funny. She says, "When that money comes due, and this isn't racist, but it will be like slavery when that note is due." What?
By the way, usually when people say this isn't racist, the next thing they're about to say
is pretty racist.
Is usually a little racist, yeah.
Right. And also, I mean, how many people have... I forget who it was now who compared the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, to slavery too, right? This is sort of the new thing. Yeah, everything is like slavery.
That always comes up.
What surprised me the most was the Sarah Palin. And Peter, we got a couple of bites here we want to play. First of all, her comment about the Pope. Jake Tapper actually asked her what she thought about the Pope. Now, she has no more grounds to talk about the Pope, right, than, I don't know. I do have grounds. I mean, a Catholic and a former seminarian, but she's got zero. But that doesn't stop Sarah Palin. Here she is, Gregg.
I'm kind of trying to follow what his agenda is. I'm surprised that he came out with a couple of things in the media, but then again, I'm not one to trust the media's interpretation of somebody's message. But having read through media outlets that he's had some statements that to me sound kind of liberal, has taken me aback. It's kind of surprised me. But there again, unless I really dig deep into what his messaging is and do my own homework, I'm not going to just trust what I hear in the media.
So, Gregg, she's not going to say anything until she does her homework, but then she goes on for right, talking about the Pope.
Yeah, she sounds uninformed there, quite frankly, and I'm not sure that's the best way to go when you're talking about the Pope, and there's probably better folks than me to talk about the Pope, but, from what I've seen, he's pretty much getting some rave reviews for being off to a great start. She's obviously seems to be bringing kind of a political attack or suggesting a political line of attack against the Pope, but yet doesn't really have the evidence at her fingertips to back up where she's going with that.
Well, what she's referring to is the Pope said that Catholics and Catholic leadership particularly should stop talking so much exclusively about abortion and same-sex marriage and talk about poverty and helping the poor, which is the message of the gospel. Now, she may call that liberal, but
yeah, and it's
I think what he's saying is let's get back to the basics of what the church should be all about.
Sure.
And the thing that stands out to me is, I'm not someone really to talk about the Pope either, but the little bit that I do see about him is it's these beautiful images of him reaching out to people who are really poor. And there was a picture that was circulated last week pretty intensely of him getting off of his Pope car or whatever they're called and coming down into the crowds and holding this man whose face was severely disfigured and holding his head against him and kissing him on the forehead and just being very comforting to him. And that's great. Isn't that what it's supposed to be about, regardless of your political bent? He's actually out there doing the things that you would think that the Catholic.
I guess that raises an interesting question, Gregg. Jen's comments, which is, so who is Sarah Palin appealing to with this kind of attack or language or criticism?
Yeah, I don't know that she's making any kind of concerted effort with those comments to appeal to anyone. I think it just kind of fits in overall with where she's coming from politically. I'm kind of much more focused on what kind of her reemergence now. She's showing that she still does have a following. I think, we're seeing she's getting a lot of media attention from this book tour. She's getting some strong turnout. Her comments are drawing notice because it's really fitting into the whole dynamic right now that's happening in the Republican Party, where there's this, there's essentially a kind of civil war going on. And, we know what side Sarah Palin's going to take in that. She's going to wear the uniform of the insurgent, of the rebel, attacking kind of the establishment moderate forces in the party. I think this book tour that we're seeing now is kind of a prelude to her involvement in 2014, and she's already hinted in her comments and things that she's written on Facebook that she really does want to be kind of like a general, in the war that's going on. It's going to be, an important part of what happens next year when you just have a number of kind of, Tea Party insurgents who are taking on incumbent lawmakers, and she's going to have a place in that battle. And I think that's what we're seeing now from this book tour is that's just the beginning of that.
Well, it's not only 2014; it's 2016 where she intends to play a role clearly. Again, in our interview with Jake Tapper, he started asking her whether Hillary, the presumed Democratic nominee already, would face some criticism as a woman, and she pivots from that, you'll hear, to her own little criticism of Chris Christie. Here again.
She could expect that sexism, but you overcome it. You ignore it. You do thicken your skin, and you march forth with your message, your priorities, your agenda that you believe is right for America. Yeah, Hillary Clinton was mistreated when it came to appearances, when it came to wardrobe, petty, superficial things that the men don't ever seem to hear much about, but a woman candidate will.
Governor Christie hears about his appearance.
That's because it's been extreme, okay? So it's hard for some people not to comment on it.
Yeah, how about that Chris Christie slap there, Greg?
Yeah, well, I just find it interesting to hear Sarah Palin talking about it. Hillary Clinton needs a thick skin. From what I've seen, I think Hillary Clinton has a pretty thick skin already, so she's endured all the slings and arrows that Sarah Palin is mentioning there for many years. I guess her comments, her choice of language in describing Christie, well, wasn't quite the Time magazine cover language that she used, but I think we all know what she's getting at.
The elephant in the room.
I know.
So I guess the final question is, do you think she wants to be a force? Is she still?
I believe that she is. I think she definitely wants to be a force. I think that's what's going on now. You can see it in her comments. She's been given an opening to reemerge by what's happening in the Republican Party, and she seems to me ready to exploit that opening and to dive in. She has a following. We know where her following stands. There is a conflict going on within the party, and it's just it's kind of handed her a chance and an opportunity to become relevant again. And she is a brand. She's selling books. She's on TV. She does care about some of these issues, and we're seeing that now. So she's got a real chance here to capitalize on what's happening in the GOP in order to get herself back out there again. And she seems that she started on that path.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
You know who reminds me of her is Alan West. Remember him? Like the congressman who was here for a term and he lost by like 500 votes or something. And he's kind of doing the same thing. He's trying to. He's out there, he's issuing statements just from himself, saying what he thinks about different races or different issues of the day. I just saw a magazine cover yesterday with him on it, sitting there looking very fierce on a motorcycle, looking like pretty tough. And I think that, that this pattern of people like Sarah Palin or I think Alan West, there's people like that are just doing this. They're trying to find their opening and stay relevant because they want to be part of the conversation.
Well, there you go. Boy, what a pair, Alan West and Sarah Palin. Oh, my God. Gregg Birnbaum. Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us this morning. Thanks for bringing us up to date on the travels of Sarah Palin. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Anytime.
That's from Politico, Politico.com. Okay, let's bring them all back. Michelle Bachmann, Herman Cain, Alan West, Sarah Palin. They'll never go away.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show. seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
You bet it is. 49 minutes before the...
Yeah, don't worry about your mic there. You're fine. Yes, yeah. Actually, we'll make that up. Don't worry about it. We'll do that later.
All right, this is just code for...
Yeah.
I think we just screwed up here.
It's okay.
But we'll fix it. This is like the Affordable Care Act website. A little rocky, but we're going to fix it. Yes. We'll fix it. We're working 24/7 to fix it. Jen Bendery is here from Huffington Post in studio with us at a time when, for a rare moment, the House and the Senate are actually back in session today. They've come back this week, last night. They're here today and gone tomorrow, I don't know, or Friday. Not here for much this week. What can we expect out of the House and the Senate this week? Anything on any? Let me narrow it down. Anything on immigration reform?
Yeah, no.
No. Yeah. Okay.
Seriously, no. Immigration, I think.
Is it? The Hill has been running for the last 2 days. Today's the end or the death of immigration, or how immigration reform died, whatever the headline is. Part 1 and Part 2. Is that right? I mean, do you agree that its chances for this year are 0?
I mean, what is it now? November 12th, 13th today?
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear nothing's happening this year, namely because, well, there's a few reasons why, but most recently the clearest sign is that Kevin McCarthy, who's the House Majority Whip, he said on record, we're not doing it this year. And he's the one who whips all the Republicans to get together on any issue. And if he's out there saying we're not doing it, then they're not going to do it.
President Obama is meeting in the Oval Office this afternoon with faith leaders to try to keep this issue alive.
Mm-hmm. It's not that it's dead forever. It's just, there are pockets of time when Congress is best suited to get something done. Because at a certain point, legislating ends, if it's even happening, and they ease into the political season.
Right.
So here we are in November in an off election year. As soon as 2014 starts, there's going to be a very small window when they really are going to be focused on passing bills. They're going to start pivoting to getting reelected in the House.
So we're really talking about 2015 at the earliest on immigration reform.
I mean, I'm no expert here, but I just don't see how they would be willing to take this on in an election year.
And particularly between now and the end of the year, I believe one of our members of Congress last week who was in studio said they have I think 7 or 8 scheduled work days between now and the end of the year.
That sounds about right.
So how could you possibly get anything done?
Right. And never mind the fact that we just came out of a very heated fight over the government shutdown. And it's still, I think people are still a little bit sore from that, and there's not a whole lot of goodwill right now. We're coming to the end of the year. People want to go home for Christmas. There's a lot of big things that Obama has put on the agenda for Congress. I mean, as soon as we came out of the shutdown, he said, okay, Congress, let's do immigration reform, let's do the budget, and let's do the farm bill this year. I remember laughing when I heard that, because it would be a miracle if Congress could do any of them by the end of this year. So I think the best chances are maybe they'll get something done on the farm bill.
All right. So you take farm bill, immigration reform, budget. You said farm bill over budget? Isn't the budget the one that they've got to get done?
Well, when was the last time they passed a budget?
Yeah, I can't remember. Actually, I can't remember. Right.
I mean, I don't know. They're actually, there's people meeting now, today. In fact, the budget conference is meeting. There's people talking about the farm bill. These are both things that could get there. It's just the window is small now for between now and the end of the year. And they've got all sorts of focus on other things, like namely attacking Obamacare and the broken website. There's hearings all the time about that.
Right.
So, I mean, it remains to be seen. I don't have a lot of hope that they'll get something done this year.
And more hearings about Benghazi today. Jen Bendery, thank you so much. Always good to see you. Thanks for coming in. Fun having you here as a friend of Bill for the whole hour. I get the final word. My parting shot coming up next.
This is the Bill Press Show. The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right. You know, we're seeing politics today at its worst and its most superficial. Everywhere you look, there's so much speculation about 2016. Chris Christie on the cover of Time. Networks rushing out with a new poll pitting Christie against Hillary. Sarah Palin and Rick Perry pontificating on whether or not Chris Christie could make it in Iowa. New Republic magazine promoting Elizabeth Warren over Hillary Clinton. Look, you know what I got to say? Enough already. I want to stop this train. I want to get off. It's crazy to be spending so much time talking about 2016. Look, it's only 1 year away from the last presidential election, and there's important work to be done this year. Number one, focusing on immigration reform, climate change, gun safety, job creation, and adopting a budget. That's 2013. And then 2014, get this, every seat in the House of Representatives up for re-election. 33 Senate seats up for re-election. 36 governorships open for election or re-election next year. And the outcome of those elections, more than anything else today, will determine what happens in 2016. So my advice to politicians and pundits is cool your jets, focus on 2013 and 2014, and then in 2015, start looking at 2016. Hey, folks, have a great one. See you back here again tomorrow.
Bill Press Show.